Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Atya Ramadhanti and I'm a student of English Department of Universitas Negeri Semarang. And now I'm going to talk about humans' organ of speech and how humans produce speech sound. So let's get started. So speech sound can be produced if there are a means to produce it. So what kind of means they are? So they are moving air and abstractions, and then of course organ of speech. So when we talk about moving air, so if there is no air, so we can't produce any sounds. And then for abstractions, so abstractions is it's like obstacle or maybe something that blocks the air so that it can produce a speech sound. And then abstractions is also caused by the organ of speech. When we talk about humans' organ of speech, our organ of speech is divided into two types of articulators. The first one is active articulator. Why it is called active? Because it can move, and it is simply muscle, so it can move. And the examples of active articulators, they are lips, and then tongue, and then a soft palates, and then uvula. And then the second type is called passive articulator. So it's simply bones, so we can't move it. And the examples of this type is teeth, and then alveolar ridge, and then the hard palate. So I'm gonna show you the picture of organs of speech, and then you can see the number one is called a nasal cavity. So what is a nasal cavity? So nasal means a nose, and then cavity is an empty space, and the function is as resonator. So through the nasal cavity, we can produce some sounds like ma, na, and ang. And then the number two is called alveolar ridge. So alveolar ridge, it is a passive articulator because we can't move it, and then it's located behind our upper teeth, and then it's used to be abstractions, of course. And then number three is called hard palates, and it is a passive articulator. And then number four is called soft palates. It is an active articulator because it can move. And then the next is number five. It is called teeth, and it is of course passive articulator because we can't move teeth, right? And then teeth is used to be abstractions, so we can produce labiodental sounds through the teeth. And then in front of the teeth, even though there is no number, it is called lips. So lips is also the parts of organ of speech, and it is an active articulator because we can change the shape, we can change the size of our lips to make a particular sounds. And then the next is tip of the tongue, and then number seven is body of the tongue. They are both a tongue. So actually the tongue is divided into 5 parts. The first is the tip of the tongue, and then the second is front of the tongue, and then the body of the tongue, and then the back of the tongue, and the last is the root of the tongue. Number 8 is called uvula. So uvula is an active articulator because it can move. So when uvula is raised, so it will block the air from the lungs to the nasal cavity, so that the air of the lungs will be passed through the oral cavity. So oral cavity is in the mouth, so it will produce oral sounds. And then when the uvula is lowered, so the air from the lungs will go freely through the nasal cavity so that it will produce a nasal sounds. And the next is number 9. So number 9 is called pharynx. So pharynx is used for respirations and for sound protections. And then number 10 is called trachea. So trachea is used to carry the air in and out of the lungs. And number 11 is called glottis. So glottis is the part of vocal cord, and vocal cord is the continuations of the larynx. So glottis is an active articulator, so it can move into 2 positions. The first position is when the glottis is open. So when the glottis is open, and it will not make any vibrations, so it will produce a voiceless sound. And when the glottis is closed, it will make vibrations and it will produce a voiced sounds. Number 12 is called esophagus. So esophagus is used to carry the food and liquid from the mouth to the stomach. And then number 13 is called larynx. So larynx is the way the air to pass from the throat to the trachea on the way to the lungs. Talking about how human produce speech sounds. So speech sounds is mostly produced when we are exhaling. So when the air out of the lungs and then go through the nasal cavity or the oral cavity, and it is called as aggressive sounds. So when the air out of the lungs and then go through the glottis, so when the glottis is open, it will not make vibrations, so it will produce voiceless sounds. And when closed glottis, it will make vibrations and it will produce a voiced sound. And then when the air pass through the glottis and then the larynx and then the pharynx, and it will pass the uvula. So when the uvula is raised, so the air will go through the oral cavity, so it will produce oral sounds. And then when the uvula is lowered, so the air will go through the nasal cavity, so it will produce a nasal sounds. And that's all for my explanation. So thank you for your attentions, and I hope that the video will give you maybe more useful informations. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you.